motion. And a tailback dive, handoff to Thompson. Nice hole. Grant's running 50, 40, 30. Tries to beat the defense. Diving tackles missed. 10-5. Touchdown. One carry, one touchdown for Grant Thompson in the variety.
Hey, welcome into Sports Night. I'm Jake Hibbard, and as expected, Star Valley is able to move on after having little trouble against Lander last week in the opening round of the 3A state playoffs. Up next, the 10-2 Riverton Wolverines, and that's the last stop between Star Valley and War Memorial Stadium at 3 o'clock next week, Friday. Volleyball was at State today, taking on Thunder Basin. Getting ready to face off against Cheyenne East tomorrow in a loser-out match. We'll take a look at that matchup against the T-Birds and what Star Valley has to do to stay alive. But first, you know what it is. We're back to football as the Riverton Wolverines coming into town for the final home game of the season. Well, that is until hopefully next week when we're able to turn Laramie into Little Star Valley for a couple of hours. And if you're a little surprised to see the Riverton Wolverines in the semifinals this year, well, you can probably add that guy to the list as well. That's Mark Leonard, the second-year head man for the Wolverines, who told me this rebuilding is ahead of schedule.
We've exceeded my expectations, right? Like, you never really know what a team's going to be or what they're going to do, right? Like, we've been fortunate in the fact that we've stayed healthy until recently, and I think it's just every week has been a grind for us, right? Like, we've never felt like we've gone into a game and are like, yeah, we're a definite favorite.
He's right. His team hasn't had easy games. They haven't really been the favorite in any games. But throughout the season, here's one thing they have developed: an ability to come back in the second half and overcome their first half mistakes. Well, at least most of the time. After the 0-week win over Powell and a week 1 loss to Cody, Riverton put together game-winning drives in the fourth quarter against Evanston in week 3, Buffalo in week 6, and most recently found themselves down 20-0 in the first half last week in the semifinals against Powell.
I think if you watch the film, like, we're moving the ball. You know what I mean? It wasn't, we fake a punt on the first drive and, they end up, Powell's tough to run on, and we try and run a speed option on fourth down and they get us. And then the next drive, we have a post we throw to Clay Sheets who's wide open. And we underthrow it a little bit, and he probably should have made the catch. And then he ends up getting injured and leaves the game. And when he does that, we've got, now we've lost our best wide receiver and our best corner all at once. And it felt like we were just a little discombobulated. A lot of our game plan involved him, being a focal point. And when we lost him, it just felt like, guys were scrambling around. On defense, a couple times we had 10 guys on the field because we were trying to match personnel. We're a team kind of like Coach Young is. We run a lot of personnel groupings on the field. So when he was out, you rep guys at other spots during the week, but we're a young team. I don't think people realize, we only have 5 seniors on our roster.
When Coach Leonard's saying personnel, same thing as package. And if it helps you, I want you to think of looking at a Madden playbook right there. Personnel, that's one way to sort plays, and when you're a coach, trying to match personnel is the first thing a defense wants to do to an offense. You can try to see a play as a formation like single back shotgun, but all of those formations are built by personnel. A 21 package, 2 running backs, 1 tight end, and 2 receivers. Empty, no backs, no tight ends, 5 receivers. 10 package, 1 back, no tight ends, 4 receivers. The more packages you can present as an offense, or in the case of Riverton, show and then shift into, as we see Riverton going from a 10 to a 20 to mask this slot receiver actually being a lead blocking fullback. As a Star Valley fan, you might take it for granted because your team runs as many of these as anyone in the state. But for a lot of Star Valley's opponents, when coaches talk about the difficulty in preparing for the Braves, this is the sort of thing they're talking about. Let me give you an example from last week's quarterfinal game. In the first half alone, Riverton showed 8 different personnel packages: 10, 11, 12, 21, 20, 32, 22, and empty. That's compared to Powell's 4 but really they just showed 2 because they ran in either 21 or 31, except for the final drive where they came out in a 10 personnel for 2 plays and an empty set on a quarterback draw for the final play of the half. Riverton's ability to do that is helped along by the outstanding running back of Hunter Saltzgaver, as well as Blake Gantenbeim having a wealth of receivers to spread the ball around this season. However, with Clay Sheets a game-time decision for tomorrow, if he can't go, that potentially limits what Riverton can execute on both sides of the ball. And finally, I'd like to talk about wrinkles. Yeah, we always talk about those in football. But what does one actually look like, and what does a coach like Coach Leonard employ? That is so darn confusing to teams. There was something that Coach Leonard pulled out last week that actually never came to fruition because it was negated on a false start. But when I was looking at the formation and the snap, I was like, what the heck's going on? And, well, here's what's going on, and here's how coaches can be kind of pesky come playoff time. To set this play up, Riverton's driving with 9 minutes left in the second quarter on the 35-yard line, and it's 2nd and 14. If you're not paying attention, this looks like a 4 wide receiver set, except there's one issue. You see that guy right there? He's on the line of scrimmage, covered up by this guy right here. That makes him an ineligible player, meaning he's not a receiver at all. You have a Powell defender on this ineligible receiver, faking a screen pass look. Meanwhile, the actual primary route is streaking up the field looking for a touchdown. Powell didn't have to pay for this misread of coverage because of the false start, but this is a prime example of what a Coach Leonard-led team has become known for in the state of Wyoming over the past decade. And now I'd like to hop over to volleyball before I say so long, as Star Valley lost their opening round match today against Thunder Basin in 3 straight sets. Final scores in the sets: 25-17, 25-22, and 25-16. Star Valley takes on Cheyenne East tomorrow. That match time is 1 o'clock at the Casper Event Center. Oh, excuse me. The Ford Wyoming Center. Kelly Walsh beat Cheyenne East, so that's Star Valley's opponent tomorrow in East. 25-13, 25-14, and 25-19, the final scores. Now, Cheyenne East has won their fair share of titles in volleyball over the past decade plus. They come in this year as the 4 seed out of the East, but really, really dangerous as a team. They present a good matchup for Star Valley tomorrow. The first thing I noticed with Cheyenne East this year is they look a lot like teams of the past for the T-Birds. First of all, their number 1 attacking option isn't out of the outside hitting position. It's the opposite hitter, Hannah Jones, number 14. She had over 200 kills this year and led them with 48 solo blocks as well. And this East team runs a 5-1 formation, so just 1 right side opposite hitter and just 1 setter. That's number 5, Charlie Cameron. As a setter, Cameron was 2nd on the team in blocks this year with 33, and having a setter who can block that well is one of the reasons you run a 5-1 and give up having that 3rd attacker always in the front line. If you play in an East system where the top attackers are coming out of the right side like Jones, or if you look at middles like Queen Fonseca or Maddie Jackson, who both combined for 300 plus kills this year, as a setter in this East system, Cameron has to be very quick, athletic, and versatile in her passes, because one of the harder positions to hit off of a less than ideal pass is the opposite position where Jones sits. But if you have someone at the position like Cameron who can diversify an attack to the tune of Jones's 200 plus kills out of the opposite, Queen Fonseca and Maddie Jackson's 301 combined kills out of the middle blocker position, and then nearly 360 kills out of the outsides, Riley Manaras and Aaliyah Brooks. Even as a 4 seed, that diversity presents a lot of problems for Star Valley tomorrow. It also means that Star Valley's outside hitters will have a heavier defensive assignment tomorrow on Jones and will be facing 2 of the better blockers they've seen all year in Jones and the setter Cameron. Star Valley and East met up early in the season twice, with East sweeping both of those matches. But when I say early in the season, I mean like first weekends of the season, so throw that all out. Loser out matchup tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And that's it for the schedule. We're getting down to it for the fall season. Tomorrow at 1 o'clock at the Big Pizza Hut, Ford Wyoming Center. Or is that it? Is Pizza Hut sponsoring? You can't say that. At the big unbranded pizza store. If they win, they play 9 a.m. Saturday to try to get into the 3rd place match. And football, trying to get into the state championship. You know where to go, right here on SVInews.com. Or, of course, if you want to check it out at the stadium, too, you can hop on over there. 6 o'clock, 5:30 pregame. I'll see you on the highlights tomorrow.